Welcome to this HFS Videocast. I'm Mark Reed Edwards, Chief Marketing Officer at HFS. Today we talk with a couple of the analysts behind the HFS Healthcare Providers Top 10 for 2022, which we just released. Joining me is Rohan Kulkarni, HFS Practice Leader for Healthcare and Life Sciences, and Mayank Madhur, Associate Practice Leader. Rohan and Mayank, thanks for joining me today. It's great to see you both on screen today. Rohan, why don't we start with you? Can you tell me what's at the core of the HFS Healthcare Providers Top 10?
Thanks, Mark. I appreciate it. Good to see you as well. So the focus of this study are service providers who provide technology and business services to healthcare providers. Healthcare providers in the context of this study are essentially health systems, hospitals, primary care, and rehabilitation centers. So essentially the care delivery aspect of the healthcare ecosystem. Now, as part of the top 10, we evaluated 17 service providers. And like all healthcare related top 10s that we do, I typically don't care very much about the widgets, but rather the impact. And more so when we are talking about healthcare, it is all about human health outcomes. So this study attempts to understand the outcomes, both from a business standpoint, as well as business outcomes for the healthcare providers, as well as health outcomes for the end consumers or the patients. Now, we also sought to understand the types of technologies that have been deployed, services that are rendered, and the innovation chops of the participating service providers. The top 10 uses a balanced scorecard approach. We include 4 different dimensions that are equally weighted when we do the evaluation. One is around the execution of the capabilities of the service providers, innovation that service providers bring to bear, the voice of the customer, and their one-office strengths. So this particular study, while was global in nature, the reality is that it is a little more biased towards the US markets, given the fact that the US healthcare market is a lot more organized compared to the rest of the world. I'm not saying it's better, but I'm saying it's definitely better organized. And we also have to recognize the fact that the service providers predominant revenue generation happens here in the US. So that's the summary there.
Yep. Interesting. So can you tell me what you saw when you were studying the providers, what you saw in those providers? And also, what are these healthcare providers looking for? These big, massive enterprises, what are they looking for when they evaluate these providers?
Absolutely. Yeah. So let me tell you a little about the providers before I go into tell you about the healthcare providers a little bit before I address the second part of your question about what healthcare providers are looking for. Right? The US health systems are perhaps the best at clinical care globally. However, they're perhaps also the worst run businesses. Their financial structures are unsound, business processes are immature, and their technologies are archaic at best. So this is a target-rich environment for service providers to provide them admin services like claims management, revenue cycle management, and so on, or clinical services such as case management, patient monitoring and adherence, or even technology services such as simple things as the IT service desk, for instance, or cloud migration, or even more sophisticated when it comes to emerging tech adoption. Now, one of the things that I'm seeing is there's a convergence here. And let me explain what I mean by convergence. Service providers are coming at this or are attempting to help healthcare providers on the strengths of their core competency that is shaped by their heritages. I see 4 distinct heritages in the mix of service providers that we evaluated. First one being IT-led, the second being consulting-led, the third is healthcare expert-led, and the last one is the BPO-led. Now, all of these 4 are tracking towards helping HCPs, which is the acronym for healthcare providers, with a variety of clinical, admin, and technical challenges. And so healthcare providers are essentially looking for a force multiplier, right? And not just the brawn when I talk about force multiplication here, but the brain and the capital behind it. They are looking for service providers to extend and improve their services, to modernize their technologies, to co-invest in innovation and be a partner in the journey, right? But in addition to that, let me also call out a couple of opportunities that I saw. I was rather puzzled by our service providers shying away from capturing human health outcomes and focusing mostly on the tactical services and financial measures. And I'm not suggesting that capturing human health outcomes is easy, but in many ways, I'm demanding that they do it as it's fundamental to care delivery, right? When it comes to care delivery, it's always about trying to help improve human health outcomes. And so it's important, it's foundational, in my opinion, that has to be captured as a function of services that you deliver. The second surprise, if you would, was very few of any of the service providers that we've evaluated actually have a chief medical officer amongst their ranks of their leadership. They have a lot of medical directors from a compliance standpoint, but very few, if any, actually have chief medical officers among the ranks of their leadership, which I think, again, is fairly foundational given the fact that they're addressing clinician challenges and talking to clinicians at health systems and hospitals. And so it's a CMO, I would argue, is table stakes. And lastly, I also get the sense that the talent challenges or workforce shortages, particularly in healthcare, have not received the same level of strategic attention by the service providers, given the fact that they continue to bias their strategies based on what they've done in the past versus sort of, aligning to where the puck will likely be. So that's kind of, the bottom line, if you would.
So that's a great overview, and we've kind of saved the best for Mayank here.
Absolutely.
Mayank, you get now to tell me an overview of the top providers, who they are and where they excel. So can you run us through that?
Yeah, sure, Mark. So the top 5 healthcare service providers in here are Optum, Cognizant, Accenture, EY, and HCL. So talking about Optum is healthcare only service enterprise having deep expertise and experience while organizing itself in healthcare systems as areas of operations. So when I say as healthcare system areas, I mean to say Optum services are organized by domains such as revenue cycle management, IT service, clinical operations, analytics, and growth services. Also, Optum has solution designed specifically for the acute care and ambulatory segments. So this is about Optum. The next rank 2 is Cognizant. So when we talk about Cognizant, it follows an ecosystem approach that brings the best of their own expertise as well as their partner capabilities. So they have a bias towards primary care, that gives them opportunity to move toward more outpatient care. Also, the client have told us that they consider Cognizant as a strategic partner rather than just a vendor. So Cognizant tried to understand the role they and each of the partner can play and work on the developing the engagement model that fit the growing complexity and agility of the partnership ecosystem. So that's about Cognizant. Our third rank, we have Accenture. So Accenture is other provider that make the best use of expansive ecosystem and scale up its practice and has been showing a double-digit kind of growth. So they have been investing significantly in hiring digital talents, subject matter experts, particularly focused on the emerging tech. They also have been investing in training and certifications. In addition, they frame their offering in context of humanizing healthcare, constructing its value proposition around performance, care innovation, engagement, and health admin, and as well as enterprise platforms. The fourth rank, we have EY. So for EY's provider, the EY healthcare provider service are the part of health science and wellness industry. And it is one of the 8 industry what EY covers. Also, they have a good thought leadership and they collaborate the ideas so well. They go to market with one EY approach. So this one EY approach is like connecting front, middle, and back offices seamlessly. And this is quite similar to what we have in HFS, known as one office. Apart from it, for EY, we have its accredited MBA and industry-specific programs that give them an edge when they manage their talents. Rank 5 was HCL. So HCL Healthcare business comes under the HCL Life Science and Healthcare Group, which is a dedicated vertical business unit. And it is one of the fastest growing verticals in HCL. Apart from it, HCL has its own life science and healthcare academy. It's a dedicated academy that offers life science and healthcare specific trainings on across the domains as well as healthcare technologies. The strength and efficacy of their offering is augmented by a provider-centric ecosystem that bring their key capabilities all at one place. So these are the top 5 in our top 10. So yeah, Rohan, if you can add something, that will be great.
Yeah, thanks. Those top 5 are definitely standouts, both in terms of the capabilities that they bring, but also the kind of approach that they take towards how they want to be solving for healthcare specific challenges. Because there is a certain bias of trying to use a technology agnostic of the industry. And our sense is that these 5 in particular have taken a different approach of building purpose, fit for purpose capabilities for the healthcare provider segment of the marketplace. So that's what I'll call it.
Well, this was a great overview. Thanks so much, Mayank and Rohan. And I encourage everybody to go to hfsresearch.com to read this top 10 along with all of our research and a growing library of videos just like this one. And we'll see you on the next HFS Videocast. Thanks again.